ultimate, but unfortunately we're not going to get to see that in this game. Instead, we're going to see the Twisted Fate instant lock-in for Faker. So, Twisted Fate obviously very well known for once getting level 6, being able to impact the rest of the map. So we'll see what he's able to do with that. Perhaps their game plan is to try and shut down EDG's bot side, which is touted as one of, if not the best duo bot in the world.
Yeah, Viper very much seen as the best AD carry in the world generally. Mako, so much experience on his shoulders, was actually one of only 2 players on this EDG roster that was there when these 2 teams met last, all the way back in 2017. Then he was on the wrong end of a 0-2 scoreline. Today, he'll be trying to get redemption for that. Graves picked up for EDG in the top lane, though. Oh, could of course go jungle, could of course, we have seen a little bit of Graves mid, but the expectation is, after Flandre played it yesterday, that he will take it back into top.
Yeah, I think that's one of the great things about Graves right now in the meta is that you can flex it between top and jungle if you so choose. But yeah, primarily I think that it is a little bit stronger up towards the top side of the map, especially as a blind pick, because it seems that many teams haven't found a reliable answer into the Graves top, especially running that fleet footwork. You have so much sustain, you have so much wave clear, you have the dash and the ultimates to add that extra safety. Like, he's a difficult champion to gank, he does well into many matchups, and he does seem to be like one of those safe blind pick tops that many teams are aiming for right now.
I think part of his power is the flexibility within the build itself, right? You can pick it blind and then you can go bruiser, you can go heavier into damage, you can build more sustain. Yesterday we saw Bloodthirster as an early item on him as well, just for that extra sustain through some of these fights. Silas picked up as an answer to the Twisted Fate, no surprises there, matching the roam ability with that hijack. And we're going to have a full top side of the map locked in for T1. Jace up towards the top itself for Kana, and Ono will be taking Xin Zhao.
I wouldn't be surprised to see EDG match that right now, given that we assume for now that the Graves is going into the top lane, the Silas into the mid. They could just grab themselves something like a Jarvan if they wanted to. We heard on the analyst desk, we heard Lyric talking about how JJ is more of that role player. And right now, I think one of the things that EDG needs is a little bit more engaged. So I think that you have a pretty good dive comp already with just Silas and Jarvan in tandem with each other. You have a pretty solid mid-jungle, but of course, the devastating and terrifying Twisted Fate gold card into a Xin Zhao on your face is going to be a very terrifying prospect as well. So pretty strong mid-jungles from either side. Mid lane likely to be a big factor as we move further into this game. But now the bot lane is going to be the focus as we move into the second half of the draft.
I wonder if we'll see EDG get rid of the Ezreal here alongside that Thresh, just remove any dashes from Gumayusi on this AD carry. It's not his most played, only a 40% win rate on it over summer, but still something he's very comfortable on. Although I think Teddy, out of the 2 AD carries for T1, would be more associated with Ezreal itself. Misfortune taken away by T1, a pick that was ubiquitous with draft yesterday. Saw it basically in every single game. Very strong after her ult buffs a couple of patches ago.
Well, Aphelios is the other one that really stands out to me, because especially when you think back to the finals for EDG, it was Viper's Aphelios in those team fights that was absolutely demolishing FPX, and I feel like that is going to be the primed, or the go-to pick, the one that everyone wants to get their hands on. And with the support bands continuing to come through for EDG, this Aphelios is really what I'm keeping my eyes on. Will T1 choose to ban it away, or will they say, we have an answer for it? Because right now, T1's draft is very topside focused. You know, you have the Jace, you have a roaming Twisted Fate, and you have a very proactive early game jungler in the form of Xin Zhao. If they wanted to pick something safe, and you assume that Viper is going to go for something like the Aphelios, which is now going to be removed, Ezreal is a very safe blind. So it seems that, you know what, they don't want to have to match up against it. So the question is, what will Viper now go for? He obviously has a very deep champion pool. He's played a wide plethora of different champions. So the question is, what will he choose to go for in a composition like this?
Looks like they might be saving it for last pick. Just want to see what the enemy AD carry locks in. There's the Leona, continues that wombo combo composition with the Silas, the Jarvan diving in. Leona, of course, with the Solar Flare. Teams so well with the Cataclysm. Bit of a volcano of doom there for EDG. T1 now have to look down towards that bottom lane. AD carry, or bot laner, I guess, and support left to pick here. With Braum and Thresh removed, we are falling down that pool in terms of supports, and usually you'd look to something like a Nami, but into this dive composition from EDG, it's going to be very difficult to play a squishy support. Gumayusi here going towards that Ziggs.
So I also wonder if this is a takeaway from Viper as well, just because we know the LPL bot lanes are very effective at these kill lane Ziggs Leona bots, but also offers a little bit more AP damage, gives T1 a little bit more wave clear and a little bit more siege, and while they will lack that consistent DPS that an AD carry can provide. Ooh, they're going to answer with a Shen support, a very aggressive support. Usually Shen has huge power spikes between the levels 1 and 3, where you want to try and play in the face of your opposition, look for early kills. So perhaps we're going to see a little bit more aggression from this T1 2 versus 2, as it seems like EDG is going to round out their bot side with a Jhin Leona.
I do love the fact that LCK is coming in with a very obvious different support strategy to everyone else. The Yuumi first pick for Damwon yesterday, now it's getting banned away. Here we see Keria going for that Shen for extra protection. He hasn't played it at all in summer, so it's something he's been keeping in his back pocket. Of course, Shen support is something we've seen in the past. It's not entirely novel, but it's great to see these new picks coming out here on day 2 of Worlds. Looking across these compositions, EDG have a lot of strength if they can get their jungle mid ahead. The ability to chase down T1 is very strong, but I wonder if that Ziggs and Shen will put a spanner in the works.
Well, I think one of the biggest things for T1's comp is how well they can play around side lanes, because you think about it, you have the Ziggs ultimate as a global, you have the Shen ultimate as a global, you have the Twisted Fate ultimate as a global, and I think the whole game plan for T1 is heavily invest in Kana, try to get Kana ahead as quickly as you can, and then look to try and play through the side lanes, utilizing Zig to try and match cross map so you can instant wave clear, and you can use the Shen and Twisted Fate to set up 3-man side lane ganks to really snowball and play through Kana. So this very much feels like Kana's game to really pop off from the perspective of T1, whereas EDG, they're looking to get those fights going. They have a lot of utility, they have a lot of engage. Around these neutrals is where they're going to look to fight. So this early game is going to be really important. Can Kana get ahead? Can T1 set Kana up for success? Or will EDG be able to stall things out and get the team fights that they're looking for?
In the LCK, Kana was the key focus for for T1 many times. His Jace 8 and 2 with 700 damage a minute. Truly the epitome of LCK Jace. The question is, can he, with all of the eggs in his basket, carry T1 to a victory through this early game? EDG, very happy to scale up. It's something they did so well through the LPL. The finals, I think against FPX, they were a little bit more aggressive in the early game, but historically they've been a team that waits towards that team fighting point. And when you have double AD carries, your team fight is very strong.
Certainly is. EDG, they have a lot of damage at their disposal, and they definitely do have a decent early game. But I think that when you kind of look at how they scale, and I think one of the big things for Jhin in particular is I always think about him as he struggles into tanks because he only has 4 shots, right? And while those shots hit hard, when you're going up against a front line, it can be very difficult to get through. However, when you look at T1's comp, you're saying, oh, actually, this front line, not that terrifying. I think that when you get a 4th shot, that can do a lot of damage to this composition from T1. You only have to be really afraid of the Shroud from Shen. I always forget the name. The Twilight Shroud? Is it that one? The one that mitigates the auto attack?
Twilight Shroud is a Kali. Spirit's Refuge is Shen.
This is why it's QWENR.
Yeah,
that's why I
those.
stick to this.
That's the thing.
Anyway, the thing that blocks auto attacks from Shen is basically the only thing that Viper really needs to be afraid of. Anyway, jungle pathing is always funny to me because I was talking to Kadril about this, and he was like, yeah, so Ona almost exclusively does a full bot clear into top side gank. Okay. And he does it pretty much every single game. And it looks like he's going to do the same thing again. Now, of course, we talked a lot about the draft and how typically he does want to try and invest into Kana early. So it shouldn't be that surprising, but you can see that pings from EDG are coming down. They have information, and because Gumayusi and Keria also assisted with the pull, this will give Viper and Mako the ability to get that early push. Meanwhile, JJ isn't going to have a leash, so he's going to solo clear. He's going to be a little bit behind Ona, but it looks like he's going to look to match, except doing mirror on the other side, going from top side to bottom.
The T1 bot lane knew that this is what you buy into when you pick Ziggs Shen on the bottom side of the map. Yes, you can trade, and Shen does have some windows, and Ziggs does have some windows, but most of the time, you're going to be standing back. You're just going to be farming against this Jhin Leona, just letting them push into you. Ona was pinged out there on his Razor Beak. Ward spots him, so EDG have full awareness of where the T1 jungler resides.
Let's have a quick look at Faker here, because this is what we see often in pro play, how people use their prio to get early information. Unfortunately for Faker, he wasn't quite able to drop that ward on the Raptors, so they don't have full information, but they can be pretty confident that JJ is pathing from top side to bot. The problem for T1 is largely that no one pulled for JJ, so they don't have concrete information as to where they are, where he is. They just likely have a rough idea of where they expect him to be. But EDG have done a really good job of utilizing that early vision. They dropped that early ward onto the Raptors, and then Flandre, using his prior, will drop it onto the blue buff, so they have full information as to where Owner is. And I think that it's in JJ's best interest by playing the Jarvan to actually avoid Owner, because Jarvan in the early game, while you can do a lot of in terms of gank setup and you do have early damage, an extended trade against a Xin, you're going to lose. So he wants to make sure that he can guarantee himself a Scuttle Crab. You can see that he's done his full clear down towards the bot side of the map, and thanks to the bot prio that his team does have, he should be able to secure that Scuttle as well.
Yeah, as a jungler here, you are so happy for your bot lane. You're like, okay, you guys have pushed it in, just walk up through the river. If you want, Viper can back, he can go buy his first item, and because Mako is there, JJ knows he's entirely safe, even with Scout backing away. So early on, both junglers tracked relatively well by their opposing man. As you said, T1 didn't have concrete evidence that JJ was where he was, but because of the way the waves were pushed, that is to be expected. This is a good little position here from Owner, able to sneak past the vision that was supplied by that ward. Gets a couple of wards down into the EDG base, and he wants to reset as well, because you don't want to be going into fights when you're at an item disadvantage. He hasn't gone back yet. He would be at a pickaxe disadvantage to JJ if a fight did happen.
But this was pretty interesting, largely because many junglers, especially at the pro level, what they'll do is they'll use their ward early, and then they'll reset, trade it for the sweeper, and then they'll come back out onto the map. Sometimes they'll even just grab the sweeper even earlier so that they can clear out any potential early vision. But Owner held on to his trinket, and then in his first recall actually chose to use it where he expected JJ to actually come back out onto the map, and now he's gotten information as to where JJ is. So now T1 have information as to what JJ is up to. They have to be careful, and Faker is, look at how Faker is playing in the mid lane right now. He's kind of pathing towards the bot side of his jungle a little bit more, respecting that possibility, and so really good information. The person that's in danger right now is Kana, because look at the flank from JJ. He's managed to navigate his way around the vision. Kana doesn't know that he's here.
Wave not in the best of spots for Kana either. He's going to step up and get a couple of auto attacks down. Flandre could dash forward with the quick draw. JJ, patience. He's like a doctor who's got a lot of patience in this top lane as he decides not to go for the fight. Flag and drags away. And I wonder why EDG decided not to pull the trigger there.
I think the main reason was Kana never quite overstepped. You know, you always have that line where you know that, hey, if a player goes past this point, even if they flash, there's still a good chance we can get that kill. But Kana, great patience there, because he knows that his jungler's not on his side of the map. So he instead shows that respect. He says that JJ is somewhere around the top side. If I overstep, the risk of me getting ganked is very real. Faker's not level 6 yet, and while he does have TP, we probably don't win that 2 versus 2 anyway. So really good respect there from Kana. And so far in this early game, it's just a lot of information trading. Both teams playing around where their jungler is, what information they have, and in terms of the farm, everything looks very even. But now that level 6 has come through, Owner's going to miss the ward in that, but surprised he didn't actually check that. So Flandre is just going to use his ult, and now it's going to get spotted out. So yeah, just overall very safe. You can see a couple of attempts here and there. But now that the level 6 have come through, this is where EDG really need to be careful of what Faker is up to. But remember, Scout can always steal that ultimate away and is able to follow alongside in the event that Faker tries to do something a little bit sneaky somewhere on the map.
The last time these two mid laners met up in 2017, it was Faker who came out on top, but EDG had leads in both those games, Vedius. 10,000 gold ahead in the first one before Faker's Shockwave found them all, and 5,000 gold ahead in the second one before, once again, Faker was able to pull a clutch play out. Historically, it has gone in T1's favor, although EDG did deny the first ever MSI title from T1 back in 2015.
It's kind of crazy, like, we heard Shox talking about it, right? We're at a point in League of Legends where organizations and rivalries have literally spanned over years. And of course, this doesn't look like a huge number of games in terms to really create a rivalry, but because of the impact that some of those games have had, you know, the fact that it was EDG that denied T1 that MSI title, it was T1 that denied EDG getting out of groups, that because of the significance of those results, that is where these rivalries have started to grow from. And of course, many players are different, but those rivalries still stay the same all the less. For now, though, still very even between the two teams. You can see T1 with a slight gold advantage. I think by and large, that's coming from the Twisted Fate passive. But yeah, I think that for now, EDG is pretty happy with this. The fact that nothing has gone too wrong, the fact that Faker hasn't been able to, as of yet, find successful play, but I wouldn't be surprised to see T1 go on the offensive. Look at this. Carrier making his way up towards the top side, will be spotted out. Owner right behind him, and look, Faker's in the fog of war. JJ is now a little bit worried.
Flash away from JJ. Carrier was the flash follow as well. Destiny used by Faker, but T1 unable to find the EDG jungler. They do get pushed in the top lane here, which means Kana should be able to secure a plate with a little bit of assistance from their support.
This is such a pleasure to watch, Medic, because...
Words are struggling today, we'll get him out.
Because you can see how aware both teams are. JJ was looking at the minimap and saying, Fake is missing, Carrier is top, Owner is probably somewhere in between the two of them, so he positions himself in a way where he can get out should anything happen. And now it's EDG on the offensive.
Flash, then play the chasers on, Owner pops the Crescent Garbage, JJ jumps onto him with the Cataclysm in his first blood over to Mako. Kana now has to flash the wall. EDG able to collapse on the top side Rift Herald.
Great collapse coming out from EDG. They're able to punish the fact that Owner is isolated in the river. They have the numbers advantage, and there's no way for him to escape. A lot of flashes were burned there on the side of T1, but it is EDG. They end up coming out on top. They equalize the gold once again, and they will find themselves with the Rift Herald. Great stuff in this early game from EDG.
EDG just able to hamper any plans. T1 had to get Kana ahead and then obviously get the kill over onto Mako as well. Not really the target you want it on, but getting your support a little bit more tanky. As a support player myself, just give them all the kills, you know? Get them the gold. Locket's great. It does everyone a shield. You don't need damage if you have shielding, Veddy.
Hey, I mean, the tankier the front line and the stronger the engage, the easier your team fighting is. Exactly. Am I right? Love those supports, because they support you. Now, I think that with this Herald, EDG have some options. So they could, if they wanted to, use it mid lane. Oh, hang on, JJ. He doesn't have Silas, but Silas has TP, and you can TP.
No.
Oh, he stole the Chenault!
No flash, Chenault coming out as well, and Owner is down. Scout steals away the Stand United, as you say. EDG get their second kill on the board.
I was looking at the minimap and I was thinking, whoa, JJ, I don't know if this is a great idea because T1 have the numbers advantage here. But what I didn't realize was that Scout in the previous fight had already stolen Carrier's ult, and they were saying, you know what, we know where Owner is and we can punish him. And that's exactly what they do. Really great play there from EDG, and it is Scout that ends up picking up that kill. And what I was going to say is they can use the Herald. I think they should use it either mid or top. The reason why you would use it mid is to deny Faker the ability to roam as easily as he normally would, because he won't have access to that tower and that extra bit of security. Alternatively, you can throw it top. Put Kana a little bit further behind than what T1. Remember that he's one of the main parts of this composition that you ideally want to try and play around, especially utilizing those side lanes. And if you remove that tower from him, you only make it harder for him to side lane against someone like Flandre. So that's kind of what I expect EDG to do with this Herald. Of course, they still have plenty of time left to use it. Let's see what they decide to do.
I just had a quick mosey, and Scout having 2 global ultimates to steal away benefits EDG so much. Hijack is on an 80-second shorter cooldown than Destiny. So if Scout steals away the Destiny, then 80 seconds later, he can steal away the Stand United. He's on both sides of the map at the same time a lot of this game, and becomes very difficult for T1 to make those objective plays. Destiny coming out onto the top side. JJ underneath the tower with Flandre. He's going to try and defend. There's the Destiny. Faker underneath the tower. Smoke screen stops him from locking in the gold card. And will just force EDG to back away.
Just fantastic awareness once again from EDG. The positioning from JJ, he doesn't leave his top out to dry, and every single time T1 is saying, we want to make this top lane play. We talked about it extensively in draft, right? We said, like, top lane is what T1 want to play for. They want to try and get Kana ahead. They want to take down this top tower. But nope, Mako's on his way. JJ's already in position. The TP is up and ready to go for Scout. Like, EDG is just so aware of what T1's win condition is, what they want to do, and they are denying it. For the time being, as long as they just prevent T1 from doing what they're doing, that EDG is, as a byproduct, getting what they want. Because they will be able to play towards these neutral objectives. They can play towards these team fights. And they should be able to come out on top in the 5v5, which, as a team, they are often praised so much for.
Yeah, team fighting is absolutely sublime. JJ still has that Rift Herald as well, Veddy. It's about a quarter of its cooldown left, 2 minutes before plates fall, but the Rift Herald will expire before that. So it looks like he is just going to put it down in the mid lane. Scout steals away the Destiny. Faker's still half of its way before it comes back off cooldown. So EDG can just get this charge in. Scout waiting in the wings to make sure the Rift Herald gets in, make sure he gets the gold, and because of that, EDG about 1,000 gold ahead. Mako once again moving away from the bottom lane. Both of the AD carries, or the bot laners with the Ziggs and the Jhin, have been left a little bit on an island as their supports look to make plays on the rest of the map. Mako spots that he's on a ward, so we'll just clear that out and work his way down through this river.
we can see how topside focused this game has been because of the lack of Drake being killed yet, right? We're 12.5 minutes in, and neither team has even looked at that Drake. And again, it's because EDG is saying, we don't care. We want to make sure that Flandre is totally fine. We want to make sure that Kana doesn't get ahead. And you know what? The Drakes can come a little bit later. We'll get them. We'll get to it. Look, the pings are coming down right now, in fact. But Mako will be spotted out on a ward. And it's like such an interesting vision game. And it's just really impressive to me to see how both of these teams are leveraging their vision and how they're playing around it. But most impactfully, it's a matter of how they recognize each other's win conditions. Oh, Scout's actually going to use the TF ult to get back to base.
He needs to get back to Boris. He was shutting his shop in about 3 minutes' time. He was like, I have to get back quickly, can't just base. Reminds me of old Rek'Sai Ultimate with the farm alarm.
I remember, yeah. I do remember that. Yep, that was, as Kadra liked to put it, that was tempo. Well, no, I'm using it in the wrong context. But the point is, you get really big tempo advantage from it, right? Because you like, not only do you decrease the time of your back, but you also then get back out onto the map so much faster. And you can see the look, Scout's already back in mid lane, will have the push in mid, and now he's going to move into the fog of war, start creating some threat, but because he's going to get spotted out by some vision, not as scary.
T1 got tempo murdered, I guess. Something
you
along those
kind
lines?
of, because
the problem with the word tempo is it means so many different things to so many different people, and that's why we don't often use it on the broadcast.
Well. In League, it has a very specific meaning, right? Which is very much, basically, it's who gets to make the play first on the map, you know? And the easiest way to think of tempo is who... You have tempo if you're back out on the map first, because it's kind of like your turn is an easy way of thinking about it. But right now, EDG have control. So they have denied all vision in the river. They're kind of forcing T1 to face check into them, and they're basically making T1 feel a little bit uncomfortable. I really like how our observers are highlighting this here, because EDG are doing a great job of utilizing their pressure and their windows where they know they can move and have numbers to try and deny vision and get a little bit more over the map. And now their lane assignments are starting to shift, because EDG is saying, well, okay, Viper's got his first item now. He's got his upgraded boots. He's level 10. We want to start involving him, and he doesn't have TP. So what we'll do is we'll send Scout bot. He'll start getting all of this solo XP, and we know that he can easily 1v1 Faker on this Sylas, and should a fight kick off, he can TP in. Now, EDG also know that the Herald's been started off, so notice Scout's come back to base, wants to spend a little bit of that gold. He's grabbed himself the stopwatch, and now EDG is ready for the fight.
T1 lost the last fight around the Herald. EDG now setting up for it once again. Faker locks in the... Well, hasn't actually locked in the card yet, but we'll be looking for that gold. For the win in this game, with Herald down to 4,000, that's going to reset, you have to feel, as it begins to charge towards Owner. Reset comes out, the fight's going to start as Mako dives in. Super Mega Inferno Bomb's going to do a lot of damage onto the backline. JJ still pushing forward. Scout dives onto the back, and that is a very dead Owner. Baker forced away with the Curtain Court. Flandre low, the Immortal Shieldbow will proc. Kana has a lot of mana and can put down a lot of damage with these shock blasts. EDG about half HP on everyone apart from Scout. T1 continue to step forward, continue to look for the fight, but EDG holding them at arm's length right now. The poke damage from T1 is absurd. Carrier now spotted on a ward as he steps forward. Scout has the flank. Mako going in, and look at the damage going down onto Kana. He's dead. Baker has to get across the wall. Gumayushi flashes, and EDG once again win the fight.
Another very clean team fight from EDG. Great patience, great flanks, and just great utilization of their ultimates as well. They're going to extend to a 2k gold lead. They're going to secure themselves another Herald, and EDG are looking strong in their first matchup against T1.
EDG just finding such coordinated fights in the middle of that after they killed off Owner. It looked perhaps like T1 had a chance just to poke them, to prod, to get some extra damage down, but then Kana went a little bit too deep and EDG collapsed. As you say, 2,000 gold lead now for EDG.
So again, just look at the patience here from EDG. They don't need to overcommit just yet, but the second they see Owner out of position, that's when they go in. The Shen ultimate that is stolen by Scout is then used to come in. And then look at this Leona ultimate here onto the backline. Zones 2, stuns 2, which means that even if they wanted to help Owner, they couldn't. Now, of course, EDG funneling into this choke point is a great position for Gumayushi and Kana with all of their poke, but then EDG patiently wait for the re-engage. They find themselves another pick, and T1 ends up struggling. And you can see that T1's ability to start a fight is actually very reliant on Owner. He goes in, he uses ultimate, he buys a little bit of time, maybe Faker can ult behind someone, but their actual engage tools are not great. They have great poke and they have great globals to try and attack side lanes. And it looks like they're trying to find another pick here on a side, but great vision once again from EDG will deny T1 this opportunity. And it's just a matter of control. EDG have controlled the vision and the game from start to finish, and they have been playing these team fights extremely well. Such an impressive game we've seen from the LPL champions.
Most decorated team in the LPL versus the most decorated team in the LCK, and currently it is China coming out on top. Mid lane tower will fall. EDG have just negated, nullified any threat that T1 had in the early game, any threat of that Destiny Stand United combo. And because they've been able to do that, they're now getting in towards the portion of the game that they like. The team fight, the 5v5s. And with it, they have a strong lead as well. Importantly, as you said earlier, early Dragons were not a point for either of these two teams, so that first Drake was only taken about 5 minutes ago. Next one up will be a Mountain, and EDG currently setting up on the top side. Don't seem to be too concerned with pushing it down towards it as of yet.
Right now, they're just trying to maintain control over the river. They're doing a great job of it. You can see how difficult it is for T1 to actually face check when there is no vision available to you, because you're face checking well into a Leona, which is never really that pleasant. They do, of course, have great poke, which T1 is able to land at times, but if EDG forces the engage before some effective poke can come through, it doesn't really result in a huge amount. So let's have a look, though. 3 members of T1 around the top side of the map. Faker has the ultimate as well, but EDG, once again, quick to respond. Scout has the TP, which means that he's happy to just chill in the bot lane. And Medic, you talked about it, like, right now it doesn't look like he has either one of the ultimates, but he's kind of alternating, isn't he? He's just stealing the TF ultimate, stealing the Shen ultimate. And as long as he's got one or the other, he doesn't even need... I don't think we've actually seen him TP this game.
I don't think so either.
I don't think he's actually used the ability yet.
Maybe to get back to a lane at some point.
But even then, I don't think he did. I think he's had such.
All over the
I think he's had such great control over his wave that he's never really needed to use it. So impressive stuff from Scout. This will be T1's first turret, though.
You could say it's impressive. You could say, well, why didn't you take Ignite if you never used the TP, right? It's like my top laner's in solo queue. Might as well just win the lane.
Well, he's got it in case.
That's true.
We'll see.
And it means he can thread in the side lane while EDG play off towards the top side of the map, of course. A little bit of jostling, a little bit of joking. We know the TP on the Silas works out, and he's looking to trade onto Faker here. The Everfrost's going to lock Scout underneath the tower, but here comes Mako, waiting for the wave to push in, just trying to keep Faker from going forward. There's the Stand United as Keria is going to join this solar flare coming out. Cataclysm for the follow-up. Keria with a good double stun. Faker with the stopwatch. Stun cards coming out, and now T1 are looking for the fight on the bottom side. JJ down. Kana calls coming out. Scout diving underneath your tower, but he almost falls as well. They managed to kill off Kana, but Scout is in for a world of hurt as he comes out of this one. Mako getting chased to the top side, stolen away. The Stand United. Faker's down. And now underneath the tower that no longer stands, EDG continue to advance. Gumayushi finally joining the fray. Good dash forward there from Flandres. He looks for the damage onto Ona, but both teams will disengage with a 2-for-1 lead for EDG.
Wow, I think that was a big overcommitment from EDG. They really wanted to force that fight, but Faker did a great job of stalling things out with the Shen ultimate and the stopwatch. But EDG, they were able to collapse that bit sooner. Gumayushi could not join the fight. And with a great ultimate coming out from Viper, they're able to turn it around. So let's have a look at this new Axe effect replay and see how things pan out. So here's Faker. Notice how separated Mako and JJ are from the rest of the team. Scout can't offer any damage. The stopwatch buys a lot of time. The TP comes through from Kana, and then JJ ends up dropping. But here, look, the ultimate from Viper, dishing out damage onto the backline. Scout's able to buy time. And then this play from really nice shot from Viper. And then look, he steals away the Shen ultimate. And then look at how big the shield is, because of course he's scaling it with AP. Then they secure themselves the tower, and they try to grab themselves a couple more kills, but T1 end up escaping. So a very fine line EDG walked in that fight. It could have been a big opportunity for T1 to turn it around, and had Gumayushi gotten there a little bit earlier, if he'd had that TP available, that fight could have ended very differently. But still, EDG, they remain in control. 4K is the gold lead, 2 towers to their name and 2 dragons.
You talked earlier about rivalries between some of the best teams. Not that many games played, of course, between T1 and EDG across their history, but there was a small semblance of last time they met in this game. Of course, EDG have a strong composition as the game goes on. T1 don't have the full-on engage tools that they had with the Rakan Orianna last time, but with the EDG in a 5,000 gold lead, I'm sure a lot of EDG fans at home will be thinking, I've been in this position before and we weren't able to close it out. Let's see if they can lock it in and secure their spot at the top of their group.
I mean, I feel like I know the history, you know, of EDG, and the analyst did a great job of summarizing it too. EDG have had a lot of expectations on their shoulders, and they've been considered favorites in the past, and then it was always in the group stage where they would often show weakness, and then they could never quite get past the quarterfinals, right? But This EDG feels different, man. It feels different. They feel like
say that. You're cursed. This is the biggest caster curse you could ever lay on a team. If they go 0-5 from here on out, we'll see them keep doing it. Ona's going to get chased down, though. All of EDG able to collapse, and perhaps they do feel a little bit different. They killed the T1 jungler, and then they look up towards the Baron.
It's just this game, in my opinion, has just been a great demonstration of really high-level lead from EDG. They have such a clear understanding of T1's win conditions. They played around vision extremely well. They've taken smart fights, and I think that the bot fight was probably the most aggressive that they have been so far this game and could have been that window, but now they've started off the Baron. Mako caught out.
Yeah, down to half HP. Scout's coming in with the TP. Here comes the curtain call. Faker looking for Mako, but he's locked up with the solar flare. Faker still gets the stun card outside. United's going to keep him alive for the moment. Scout trying to get across the wall. T1 still trying to fight this one. They have stopped the Baron being taken, and that is the most important point. Kana, no TP, but he is still in the middle of this fight. Ona respawns, and he's going to rejoin the fray as quickly as he can. EDG will back away. And Faker and T1 did a great job there of stopping the Baron from happening. TP is coming in. T1 might look just to start this one off. Immediately, they know EDG alone.
There's a window here, thanks to the fact that Scout has already used his TP, and many EDG members are low on HP, so T1 see this as an opportunity, given that Ona's now back on the map, to force a successful fight. Let's see if it works out.
Blandre full HP though, Viper down to half. Mako forced away, no solar flare for him. Scout off towards the top side, has the flash, has that engaged potential. JJ as well. Flash Cataclysm, very much a possibility. Destiny coming out, there's a blast going to the back of the pit. Carrier tries to get onto JJ. They jump into the pit with the Cataclysm coming out. It's Ona who secures it. Scout low in the middle of the pit. Gumayushi and Faker just trying to act on the sidelines here, trying to back away. Carrier forced up towards the top side. Baron secured by T1, but the fight will go well and truly in EDG's favor. Carrier dies at the end. Only 2 members of T1 survive.
But a really great play still from T1. The decision, the window that they had to at least get a little bit more control back into their hands, they were able to take advantage of it. The fact that Ona had just respawned, the fact that they knew that so many EDG members were low, they had a small window where they could force this. And yes, it was a flip, but I feel like that T1 were in a position where they had to take this flip. This was the best case scenario for them. And while EDG, look, Faker and Gumayushi get separated from the fight. Ona, in a 50-50 smite here, is able to secure it before losing his life, and then Gumayushi ends up doing so much damage on the backline that they end up getting themselves a couple kills as well. Ona is just the sacrificial lamb here. Carrier is forced to lose his life as well, but 2 for 3, Baron in your back pocket. If I'm T1, I'm pretty happy with that.
And only 30 seconds before it, Vedius was talking about how great the map play was from EDG. So T1 do get the Baron, Red Bull Baron power play up and available for them. EDG now with 3 Drakes. Cloud Soul is the possibility, and it wouldn't be an LCK versus LPL game without a Cloud Soul on the horizon.
So I think what happened was they got that pick onto Ona. So EDG's like, let's do Baron.
Yeah.
Problem is, you're doing Baron against Pokemon. And so T1 recognized that, and they don't overcommit, but EDG used it as an opportunity to force a fight. Hey, we have a numbers advantage. We didn't burn a lot to get that kill onto Ona, so let's force Baron to force them to come to us, and then we re-engage on them. But T1 patiently navigated their way around the fight. They don't get hard engaged on, and because Ona is now back onto the map and EDG have no HB bars, T1 then see a window where they can force the Baron. So it was one of these things where I think EDG did the right thing, and I think they had the right idea in mind. It was just that in the execution, they couldn't quite pull it off. They couldn't quite get what they wanted to happen, and so then T1 pounced. And that's why I think this is such a great game, because you can see that both these teams are playing at a very high level. They have a really good understanding of the windows that they need to take advantage of, and they are doing just that. T1 now trying to close the gold gap that they find themselves in. They secure themselves another tower, and while they still find themselves at a 3k gold deficit, look at that. Gumayushi actually has the most gold in the game right now.
Yep. Which is interesting considering how much T1 decided to focus the top side in the early game. Gumayushi, of course, Zig's very good at taking down towers. The Satchel Charge does a lot of damage. He's obviously picked up some plates throughout the game as well. But almost 300 farm at 27 minutes is going to stack you up in terms of total gold. The Baron about to expire, though. Only an extra 500 gold taken off it on top of the 1,500 you get for it. However, T1 will be very happy with the delay of game, because if EDG had taken that Baron, it felt like it was pretty much game over.
It certainly felt that way. The thing is now for T1, they can just buy more time. You know, they were falling further and further behind. Levels was something that was really going to be a big struggle for them, but it's going to get better. And one of the cool things about Xin Zhao into Jarvan is that Jarvan kind of falls off later on into the game, because all he really is a knock-up and an ult. He doesn't really have kill threat on many people, because a lot of his damage comes from his passive, and then there's a cooldown. Whereas Xin has his ultimate, which mitigates so much damage and can tank a lot, and can just act as a pretty effective frontline. So in terms of the junglers, even though Ona is 1-5, he's still going to offer a lot of value just with these two items in isolation. So it's one of those things where I look at T1's comp and I'm like, well, if they can take advantage of their poke, if they can actually look to try and find picks on a side lane, the fact that Gumayusi is now level 16, we've got an interesting game on our hands, because what felt like a clear one-sided affair for EDG, T1 have found a narrow way back into the game, and now they have options.
27 flashbacks, I'm just going to say it again. Kana at 3 items now is a lot stronger on this. Jace didn't get all that gold funneled into him in the early game, but still farming up a storm and able to get himself into a pretty strong position. 2 items complete on Gumayusi as well. Those 2 key poke members for T1, both very strong. I wonder where Gumayusi will go next. He's got an Oblivion Orb. You can see there's some healing reduction picked up on the side of T1, but I wonder if he'll finish out that Morello's or if he'll decide to go towards Rabadon's third here with that needlessly large rod. It's very much an option for him. You can see as well, EDG now deciding, well, Cloud Soul available for us. In a minute and a half, we're going to set up Vision down towards this bottom side. T1 accepting Vision off towards the top. It's actually very close between the spawns of the Baron and that Cloud, and I wonder if EDG will be willing to give one up. There's always the option to trade a Soul for a Baron. Not always the best deal. We've seen it go both ways, but Cloud is permanent, the Soul is permanent, whereas Baron, of course, expires in 3 minutes.
Thing is, I really think if T1 got a Baron, oh, Viper's in trouble!
There's the Destiny Viper. Cleanse Flash into the Gale Force. He manages to escape. Flandre putting the damage down here as well, and Faker has to walk away. Viper was in trouble. Both sums burnt on the EDG AD carry.
Such a narrow window once again, and T1 pounce. I feel like both teams are hyper-focused right now, because you can see Viper recognized, he was like, uh-oh, I have picked the wrong spot to base in before the T1 members even showed up, and he was quick to run to the wall because he recognized that's my best out. But then the flash comes through from T1.
TP.
There's quite a deep TP though.
Scouts looking for that flank. Flashes available on everyone but Keria. Scout still waiting in the wings, waiting in the darkness. Flandre pushing in the top side. T1 corral into the mid lane. Only Faker stands alone.
Know?
Does Faker know? He steps forward, he steps back. Oh, to be in the mind of Faker for a second, because right now his positioning could cost T1 everything. Scout backs away. T1 gain priority in the mid lane and work their way up towards the Baron right now. They're going to start it up. Flandre's on the Drake. Flandre's on the Drake, and EDG now 4 members strong can push against this. That Drake's going to be down in about 4 auto attacks from that Graves. Ona, half HP, Curtain Call coming out as Viper looks for the damage. Faker off towards the side, Scout chasing him down. Scout will land the root, the Soul of Flare going down to the Faker as well. And with the Zenith Blade, he has to pop the stopwatch. Cloud Soul secured for EDG, and Faker is down as well. EDG win the fight on both fronts.
Beautiful pick coming out from Scout. It was that dance between the 2 mid laners, hiding in fog of war, but the moment Faker threw out his stun card, he revealed an opportunity for Scout. Mako with the immediate follow-up from the ultimate. EDG are going to secure themselves the Soul, they're going to get themselves the Baron, and just like that, EDG snuff out T1's chances.
5,000 gold now, their lead. Cloud Soul in their back pocket, and the good thing about a Jhin is you can be impactful even without your summoners. Viper there just pops the Curtain Call well out of range of anyone on T1 and is able to put the damage down and get those slows. Faker trying to find an avenue to approach the fight, but just couldn't get it. Scout now level 17 on this Sylas. Highest level on the game, teamed up with Flandre, 3 levels ahead of Faker.
Yeah, it's an awkward position for T1 to be in right now, because I feel like both Scout and Flandre, they're difficult to deal with in a side lane. You know, we haven't really talked about Flandre at all this game, but 4-0 and 4 on this Graves has not really made a mistake from what we've seen so far, and is like a massive damage-dealing threat in a side lane. Very difficult to be able to push out on 1v1. And so, like, a lot of your hope relies on the poke coming out from Gumayusi and potential damage that you can get before a good fight, but the Elder spawning soon. I don't know if EDG really need it, because their game plan should be to set up control of a mid-wave, look to use their numbers bots. Is that a TF ultimate? No, I just misheard. And you can see them doing it right now. They're pushing in through bot lane, they're pushing him through mid. Faker was forced to go and catch the top wave. And this Baron buff does reduce the impact of that wave clear. But wherever Gumayusi is means that EDG just doesn't have to be, and they can secure these towers.
Of course, bound-up minions a bit more tanky than normal minions as well, meaning Gumayusi will struggle to work his way through them, even though he can put down that explosive minefield. EDG playing those 2 lanes well. Solar Flare coming out. There's the curtain call as well. Faker takes a chunk. Owner trying to block for them, but Carrier still found with the 3rd shot. 4th's about to come out. It hits Owner as the Crescent Guard falls. Cannon Minion surviving here. Scout still in the mid lane. There's a whole wave that T1 now have to deal with. Cannon Minion dies down towards the bottom side, but the mid lane inhibitor tower will fall as well. Scout just buffing up those double cannons. The shot blast does land, but Flandre and Viper very easily heal that back up. And now T1 just decide to defend their bot lane inhibitor tower. Mega Inferno Bomb stolen away, doesn't really get the damage down, but Carrier has to dash away, and that's mid lane inhibitor and the bot lane inhibitor now under fire. Scout continues just to wail away on that mid inhib. It will fall, so will the bottom lane, and EDG. They've got everything they needed out of this Baron buff. They can back away.
Good patience being shown by EDG, not giving T1 really any opportunities.
They're going.
Looks like a pick.
They're looking for it. They can't quite catch out Flandre, who manages to flash and escape and continue unkilled here at Worlds. Didn't die yesterday, yet to die today. Same with Scout. EDG solo laners just having a barnstormer of a performance so far here in 2021.
So now I can say with a lot more confidence, this EDG just feels different.
Yep. Give you that one.
They are clean, they are crisp in their execution, the control that they have, the performance of each of their individuals. You can really see why they are considered one of the tournament favorites and how dominant they have been looking so far in the group stage. Of course, this is only their 2nd game. Group stages can be quite the torrent of emotions for many fans. And there's still a lot left to play, but this EDG team looks solid. And with only 1 inhibitor left, with the Elder Dragon spawning in 2 minutes time, you feel like that this game is done and dusted for EDG. It's just a matter of how they close things out. The biggest struggle for them is Gumayusi and the amount of wave play that he does have on this Ziggs, and it does just make sieging that bit harder, especially without the Baron buff.
They do, of course, have the option to just go for the all-in dive. You know, Solar Flare, Scout diving in as well with the Abscon dive. Duck Cataclysm, you can just focus down Gumayusi. Question is that the wisest idea? Instead, you can just wait for the super minions to start doing work in the middle and the bottom lane and get this wave pushing in at the top. Wildcards will clear it out just a little bit, but still T1 have to deal with 4 members of EDG pushing in here. Scout taking away a red buff.
And go back to base.
Going back to base, he has TP.
Just your classic solo queue mid laner.
Yep.
He knows his priorities. Of course, as you rightly said, he does have the TP and can join at any moment. He's going to use that in the mid lane to create another point of pressure. Viper and Faker just trading blows right now.
I love the rapid fire cannon on Graves, because it means you can do what they just did to Faker without having to be that short range, you know, shotgun 80 carry that Graves so often is. Flandre just chipping away at Faker, forces him to go back. Destiny available for T1, but are they going to pull the trigger? Are they going to look for a final fight in this game? Because you have to feel if those super minions in the bottom lane get any closer, it's going to be very difficult. Curtains open as EDG look for an encore of the last fight, and they will once again just force T1 back. T1 unable to find their fight, unable to find a moment, a gap in the armor of EDG, and now with 3 inhibitors down, T1 very much on their last legs.
Viper has so much damage at his disposal. Can he use the 4th shot there? I was curious as to whether we get to see how much damage he could do. But EDG, they're going to respect it. They know that if they overcommit and they die, they lose Elder. And that is not something that they want. So they're going to be happy with their 3rd inhibitor. They're going to make their way back towards the Elder. Or are they going to set up a trap?
Owner caught out, rooted immediately. Crescent Guard will come out. There's the stopwatch as well. Scout is on the longest of flanks here, and Owner is able to flash away Carrier. Forced out by Scout. The chains come down, and Scout's on a rampage. Cataclysm follows it up as EDG look to rout T1 in the doors of their base. Only Carrier, Gumayusi, and Kana survive, and they're going to get forced away. Kana dives in, but just doesn't have the damage. The Jace was not strong enough to carry T1 through that fight, and EDG are now knocking on the Nexus.
Look at Scout. He's cutting off the escape route for Gumayusi. He's going to get himself another kill. EDG are going to wipe T1 off the map, and EDG are going to look to go 2-0 in the group.
That one was personal for Scout as he takes down T1 4 years after their last defeat. EDG 2-0.
An impressive game from EDG overall. I still liked a lot of what we saw from T1.
Yeah.
There was a lot of